let me demonstrate why Lightroom's Intersect feature is such a great masking tool. As always, you can follow along by downloading the raw files from the link in the description of the video. And now let's begin. So this will be our image on which we work on. If you're just here for the tutorial part, make sure to check the chapters of the video because I will be showing the whole editing process for this image. And that means we are going to start by merging an HDR. So select all 5 images down below in the film strip, right click on one of them, go to photo merge and choose HDR. In this preview window, we don't need to change anything, just hit the merge button. And there we have our HDR file. Next up, we want to do the basic adjustments. So let's expand the basic panel, and right away I want to change the profile going from Adobe Color to Adobe Landscape to bring up the base saturation a little bit, because I want this image to be well saturated. I'm also going to quickly adjust the exposure, bringing it up very slightly, since overall the image is a little bit too dark for my taste. I'm also going to bring up the shadows, and I'm going to bring up the blacks to fix the darkest parts of this scene. For the white balance, I want to make it slightly warmer, so let's raise the white balance temperature. I want to get rid of that strong blue color cast in the snow, so that's the reason for me to bring up the temperature quite a bit here. Right around here looks perfect. I'm not going to change the tint. What I want to do next is to work my way through the presence tab, introducing some more texture to make this image look sharper. And I'm also going to bring up the clarity very slightly to boost the midtones contrast. And finally, let's bring up the vibrance to introduce more colors to this image. Wonderful. So that's already it for the basic adjustments. Now let's take a closer look at the masking. For that, open up the masking panel. And right away, let's get into the Intersect feature. If you're not sure what the Intersect feature will do, we basically will create a mask, then we will create a second mask overlapping the first one, and all the area where both masks are overlapping is where the mask will be applied. So let me give you a very simple example. I want to work quite a bit on the sky for this scene, so I'm going to create a sky selection. I do like the left portion of the sky, but I think the right portion of the sky is a bit too bright. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on the Alt key while mask 1 is selected. There you can see the buttons turning into this one intersect button. Click on it. Then we're going to choose linear gradient. And with this linear gradient, I'm covering the right side of the sky, which I want to change. And as you can see, the area where the sky selection mask and the linear gradient are overlapping, this is where we will be adjusting the area. So let me rotate this a bit. I pretty much want to target the brightest part of the sky using this mask. And what I want to do is to introduce more warmth to the brightest parts of the sky. And I'm going to start this by raising the temperature. Now you might notice, looking at this bright area, there is not much changing in regards of the colors. That's because this area at the moment is still overexposed. So adjusting the colors on an overexposed area like this won't do much. We need to fix that. So I'm going to bring down the exposure. And since we're only targeting the brightest parts of the sky using the Intersect tool, only the bright part will be darkened, not the left side. Something like this looks much better already. What I want to do as well in here is to introduce some more specific color. So I'm going to click on this little color box right here, and I'm going to set up the color to an orange tone right around here. And I'm going to make it rather intense by bringing up the saturation a lot. All right, this is looking much better, but of course we can continue improving the sky. Generally, I want to make the whole sky a little bit warmer and more intense with stronger colors. So let me create another sky selection right away. The problem we will have here with this sky mask is it's also targeting parts of the mountain right here. Luckily for us, we can change that again using the Intersect tool. So one more time, select our mask. In this case, mask 2. I'm holding down the Alt key. So the Intersect button will appear. I'm going to click on it. And then what we will do is we are going to intersect our sky mask with another sky mask. And doing this will clean up this mask drastically. Now, thanks to the overlay, you can see the mountains are clear. Those areas won't be changed anymore. So what we can do now to make the colors in the sky look a little bit more intense and saturated is, first I'm going to bring down the overall highlights for the sky. This will mainly help with the right side, bringing out the colors in the brighter areas. Then I'm going to increase the temperature. Since I'm targeting the whole sky, I'm not going to bring up the temperature this much, but I think right around here looks great. And I'm also going to bring up the saturation so the whole sky will be more vibrant. Alright, that's looking good. One more thing we can do on a sky mask like this, we can introduce colors by using the tone curve. So let's go down, expand the curve panel right here. And I don't want to adjust the simple point curve. Instead, I want to head into the red channel right here. And all I'm doing in here is to pick the point for the highlights and drag it further to the left. And just like this, we can introduce a very, very warm, intense sunset look to the sky. It's really, really simple, but really effective, as you can see. Beautiful. Now let's continue. I want to create another sky selection. Again, with this selection, I'm going to target the brightest parts of the sky. So we want to use the intersect tool once more. If you don't want to hold down the Alt key, you can also click on those three dots right here, and there you will find the intersect mask with menu point. Then let's choose the linear gradient, and I'm going to target only the very brightest parts of the sky right here. Again, I am bringing down the exposure to make those very harsh highlights a little bit softer, and thus we will see more colors in this area. Then I'm going to bring up the temperature quite a lot. Let's raise it almost all the way up. I do think I want to add a specific color one more time. So let's click on that color box right here, and let's choose an orange color tone right around this area and bring up the saturation to make it really, really intense. Alright, this is looking good. Maybe I need to adjust this linear gradient a little bit, reducing the area that it is covering of the sky. But I like how this looks. Now we almost exclusively worked on the bright parts of the sky, but I also want to work on the darker parts. Let's create another sky mask. Again, I want to intersect this, so I'm going to hold down the Alt key, click on intersect, choose a linear gradient, and with this linear gradient, I'm going to target the darker parts coming down from the top. Something like this looks pretty nice. And what I want to do in here is to bring down the exposure, adding a little more contrast to the sky this way. This is looking much better. Let's continue using a new sky selection mask. Again, I want to intersect, so let's hold down Alt, click on intersect, choose linear gradient. This time I only really want to affect the left side like this. And I want to make it a little bit colder, so I'm going to drop the temperature, introducing some more blue tones to the darker parts of the sky. And doing this, we will just create a very nice color balance between the warmer tones on the right and the colder tones on the left. As you can see, the intersect tool is really, really helpful if you have some very specific areas of the image which are otherwise hard to target. So that's pretty much it for the intersecting stuff I wanted to show you. Now let's continue working our way through the image. I'm using a linear gradient to target the foreground, because I think this area is still a little bit too dark. I want to change that by very slightly bumping up the exposure. And we could also increase the whites. And this will just help make the image brighter and adding some more contrast and punch. Alright, then I want to target that frozen part of that lake right here in the center. I'm using a radial gradient for it because it fits the shape. So right here looks good. What I want to do in here is to further brighten up this spot to make it a little more visible. I'm also going to bring up the whites quite a bit. Then I want to add texture, making this area sharper, and some more clarity to make it pop. Wonderful. While we're down here in the foreground, let me also use a color range mask, and with that color range mask I'm trying to target that grass in the foreground. So I'm just clicking on it. I do think we need to use the refine slider right here, bringing it down so only really the grass will be selected like this. This is looking super good. I want to also subtract a linear gradient, so I'm making sure only the grass is selected, nothing above this line right here. What I want to do with that grass is to make it brighter by slightly bringing up the exposure. So right around here looks good to me. Okay, then I also want to work on the mountain in the back. Therefore, let me create another linear gradient, just covering that mountain like this. And since I don't want to change the sky, I'm going to say subtract and choose select sky. Alright, and with this selection, I want to bring up the contrast. I want to bring up the highlights, which will make the snow a bit brighter. For the same effect, let's slightly bring up the whites. And I want to drop the shadows for more contrast. And I'm going to increase the dehaze just a little bit, adding a bit more punch to that mountain in the back. Perfect. So that's the image after the masking adjustments. Let me turn off all the masks to see the difference from before with our basic adjustments applied to after. Much more colorful and much more interesting. Beautiful. Now let's do a little bit of color grading. I'm going to start in the color mixer. I want to work on the saturation a bit. This means I'm going to bring up the saturation for the warmer tones. So red, orange, and let's also raise yellow. This helps making those warmer sunset colors a little more intense. At the same time, in this image you can see we have some very intense blue tones, which I think are a bit too much. So I'm going to drop the blue saturation a notch to counter that problem. Alright, and of course we can also apply some split toning, which will really help bring out those sunset colors. For that we want to work on the highlights. And what I'm going to do in here is to set up the hue to a warm color tone in the orange range right around here. And I'm going to really pump up the saturation because I love how this looks. Alright, then to keep some color contrast, I'm going to head into the midtones. And here we want to use a cold color tone to keep the color balance. So I'm going to increase the hue, bring it up to a blue point right around here. And let's bring up the saturation. Alright, this is looking perfect. Now the only thing left to do in regards of the color grading is to head down into the calibration tab, and here as always I'm going to bring down the blue primary hue just a little bit, and at the same time I'm going to push the saturation. That's it. Now the only thing left to do is the sharpening in the details tab. So let's drop the radius all the way down, increase the details all the way up. That's something I do for every single image. And then let's add some masking while holding down the Alt key, so we can nicely target the important parts of the image like this. And then let's bring up the amount of sharpening. Done. And that's the finished image. So I hope the tutorial part with the intersecting tool was helpful and will help you with your future landscape images. If you want to add anything or if you have any questions left, let me know in the comments, and thank you so much for watching this video.